Second item on the agenda, public to address the board on closed session agenda items. Ms. Ellinger, are there any requests for public comment?
No, there are not.
Thank you. We are going to convene to close session at 5:03 PM, 5:04 PM, and we'll return at approximately 6:15 PM.
Wait for Jerome to take.
We are reconvening to open session at 6:20 PM, this meeting of the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District School Board. Next item is the flag salute. Could you please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to announce that tonight's meeting is being recorded. There is no report from closed session. Item number 7, approval of the agenda and the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda and the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, trustee Linebaugh. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by trustee Bruno. It's been a while, sorry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Please say no. All right, passes. Item number 8, speakers wishing to address the board. The board appreciates and supports stakeholder input at our meetings. Engagement by members of the public in civic matters is a cornerstone of our democracy. The board has established guidelines for its meetings so that we are able to conduct the meeting effectively and efficiently. Within those guidelines, members of the public have the opportunity to address the board. To submit a question or comment, please complete the speaker card by the start of the open session at 6:15. You may see Ms. Ellinger for a speaker card at this time. During the meeting, speakers will be called upon to make their comment. If you're addressing the board on an agenda item, we will call on you to provide your comment before the board discusses that item on the agenda. If you're addressing the board on a non-agenda item, we will take those comments at this time. Please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting on or discussing non-agenda item matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. Ms. Ellinger, are there requests for public comment?
Yes, President Northrop, we have one. So Barbara DeGrande from BRSFA would like to come up and address the board.
Thank you.
Hello. So today, I just wanted to come to the board meeting. I wanted to do a celebration. My glow today is to celebrate trustee Sam Linebaugh and trustee Jim Howard. And so we stand here today, BRSFA, to celebrate you and all the work that you've done. So we thank you. Our glow is to celebrate your dedication and your contributions to the school district. We thank you for all the events that you have attended and all that you've done for our schools. BRSFA, I bought you a little box of chocolates.
Oh.
For you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow.
It's nice. Oh, it's cool. I like treats for some.
Stack of books to me, but it also has different countries on there of chocolates from around the world. So I thought that this reminded me of the diversity of our school district. And I hope that you enjoy the chocolates of the diversity of the chocolates, as well as all that you've contributed to the diversity of our district. So with that, we thank you for all that you've contributed to the district. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other requests for public comment?
No, there are not.
Okay, thank you. We will move on to the Board of Trustees report. I will ask Dr. Howard or Mr. Linebaugh if they would like to go first.
In the interest of time, I suspend my time.
The Brown Act prevents me from making any comments on public comment, but I got to break the rules this time. That was.
You're fired.
Thank you.
You waited right to.
Other than that, I have.
Thank you, trustee Linebaugh. Trustee Koss?
I'll just say one thing. Last week, we, the trustees, along with one of the new trustees to come. And then we went down to Anaheim for the California School Board Association Annual Conference. And it's always an honor to kind of, it's like our professional development. And I thought it was excellent, wide range of topics, a lot of AI and education approach from different angles, a lot of, which was very interesting, and how some schools are implementing it and or the areas to consider. Other parts were around like policy development, so with some of the latest state legislation to come down and how to interpret that. And then just kind of a mixture of everything in between. So I just want to show appreciation to the district for sending me on my professional development. And it was very educational, and I really look forward. It was an excellent range of topics, and I really do appreciate. I felt I've come back with a little bit more that I'm able to implement inside our district, and I'm more informed than I was before I went. So thank you.
Thank you, trustee Haas. Trustee Bruno?
Second, all of that. I was also at CSBA. And yeah, it was a great conference, learned a lot. One of the better ones for me, I'll say that. Has me looking forward to kind of the downhill portion of my term, I guess. I'll take some time to appreciate Jim and Sam as well. It's been great. Speaking of learning, like what I've learned from both of you, from recommendations, reports, history, about boarding, parenting, volunteering, all of that. I've appreciated, including beekeeping. Yeah. Yeah, happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. I have nothing really to report. I will, we can move on to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm gonna take my time actually to highlight something that was on the consent agenda this evening. In the consent items, we had 3 resolutions honoring our mid-year retirees. I'd just like to read those resolutions. First one is for Abelardo Rosas, affectionately known as Abe. Whereas Abe has announced his retirement from the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District, whereas Abe taught Spanish, social science, and student government at Ralston School. Whereas Abe served as BRSFA Vice President and Treasurer and has been on the negotiating team. Whereas Abe led adventure-filled student excursions to New York and Washington, D.C. Whereas Abe has mentored new teachers throughout Notre Dame DeMere University. Whereas Abe's students appreciate his guidance and encouragement, he truly understood how to make them feel welcome and heard. He fortified curiosity and their love of learning. His enthusiasm was refreshing. That's my favorite one. Whereas Abe's students found his class so interesting that they ran out of space to write in their notebooks. Whereas BRSSD community expresses its deepest gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to Abe for his outstanding service, invaluable contributions, and profound impact on the lives of students, families, and colleagues throughout the years. The district extends its warmest wishes for a joyful and well-deserved retirement filled with relaxation, adventure, cherished moments with loved ones, and be it further resolved that the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District Board of Trustees hereby commends Abe Rosas with over 30 years of dedicated service to the students, staff, and community of the district, and wishes him a well-deserved, rewarding, and fulfilling retirement. Congratulations, Abe. I think you're listening out there, and just want to thank you for all that you have done for us. The second one is a resolution commending Robin Silk. Whereas Robin Silk has announced her retirement from the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District, whereas Robin has served as both a speech and language pathologist, and then served as a special day class preschool teacher. Whereas Robin shaped the preschool program to deliver high quality education to our highest needs students, making a lasting impact on our students' educational career. Whereas Robin has been a respected member of the school community, known for her kindness, professionalism, and relationships she has built with her students, families, and colleagues alike. Whereas Robin built a safe and loving classroom, trained paraprofessionals to be high quality educators alongside her. Whereas Robin put the most detail and attention to assessing students, providing information and peace to families navigating the special ed realm in her presentation of reports. Whereas the BRSSD community expresses its deepest gratitude and heartfelt appreciation to Robin for her outstanding service, invaluable contributions, and impact on the lives of students, families, and colleagues throughout the year. The district extends its warmest wishes for a joyful and well-deserved retirement filled with relaxation, adventure, and cherished moments with loved ones. And be it further resolved that the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District Board of Trustees hereby commends Robin Silk with nearly 14 years of dedicated service to the students, staff, and community of the district, and wishes her a well-deserved, rewarding, and fulfilling retirement. Robin, congratulations. And our final retiree is one of our classified employees, Rafael Rizzo. Whereas Rafael Rizzo has announced his retirement from the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District, whereas Rafael dedicated his career as a custodian at Nesbitt School, diligently caring for the campus and classrooms while ensuring a safe environment for all children who attend Nesbitt. Whereas Rafael consistently exceeded his custodial responsibilities by prioritizing connections to the school community and generously sharing his musical talents. Rafael and his band have performed memorable concerts for the children of Nesbitt School, showcasing his pride in singing and playing instruments. These performances have left a lasting impression on all who experienced them. Whereas Rafael consistently provided invaluable assistance with all requests from the office and teaching staff. He is not only helpful and resourceful, but is also proactive in identifying efficient solutions to challenges that arise. Rafael's dedication and commitment to supporting the team contributes significantly to the school's success. Whereas Rafael and the entire Nesbitt community express its deepest gratitude, heartfelt appreciation to Rafael for his outstanding service and care he has provided to the community. Nesbitt School extends its warmest wishes for a joyful, well-deserved retirement filled with relaxation, adventure, and cherished moments with loved ones. And whereas Rafael is and always will be a beloved member of the BRSSD family, and be it further resolved that the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District Board of Trustees hereby commends Rafael Rizzo with 9 years of dedicated service to students, staff, and community of the district, and wishes him a well-deserved, rewarding, and fulfilling retirement. Congratulations, Rafael.
Thank you, Superintendent DeGuara. Anything out further for the superintendent's report?
That's it. Great CSBA conference. Happy our trustees were able to attend, and nothing else.
Thank you. Item number 11, 2025 instructional calendar and corresponding certificated employee calendars. And we'll hear from Julie Eastburn, Director of Human Resources and Administrative Services.
Thank you. Super excited to be here tonight to present to you not only the instructional calendar, but the 3 corresponding calendars for certificated teachers, counselors, registered nurses, and specialists, speech and language pathologists, and school psychologists. I just want to say that this was probably the smoothest, collaborative, thought-provoking, informative process that we have had thus far, that I have had in my almost 5 years here in the district negotiating calendars. So I just want to say thank you to BRSFA for that process. With that, it is recommended that the Board of Trustees approve the 25-26 instructional calendar and corresponding certificated employee calendars.
Thank you. And this is an action item. Any questions or comments before we make a motion?
Yes, this is mostly aligned with the Sequoia Union High School District calendar.
I think I think we're one day off in the beginning and the end. All holidays are aligned. I think professional development days are aligned. I think it's our most aligned calendar thus far.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate for both teams working together and coming to that because the parents really appreciate if they have siblings at both districts, having those be coordinated. So job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Yes, and thank you. Just wanted to express appreciation for it being done so early so that families can, family and staff can make plans for the coming year. So thank you very much. Can I get a motion to approve the 2025-2026 instructional calendar and corresponding certificated employee calendars as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, trustee Linebaugh. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee Costs. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. No no's. It passes unanimously. Item number 12 is consideration and public notice of the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District, BRSSD, proposal to the Belmont-Redwood Shores Faculty Association, BRSFA, regarding certificated unit collective bargaining agreement reopener negotiations for 2025 to 2028. And this is an information item that we're going to hear from Ms. Eastburn, the Director of Human Resources and Administrative Services. And then we're also going to have the exchange, and we'll also have consideration and public notice of the Belmont-Redwood Shores Faculty Association proposal to the BRSSD regarding certificated unit collective bargaining agreement reopener negotiations.
Official trade. I think it's very appropriate that Travis, as a representative of BRSFA, is up here with me tonight, sharing our sunshine documents together. This is, I was telling him earlier, and I tell everybody when the conversation comes up, that this is the part of my job that I really enjoy the most is negotiating with both BRSFA and CSEA. We have come a long way in the last 4.5 years, built really strong relationships with both units. And for that reason, I always look forward to coming to the table and starting negotiations. So the formality piece, pursuant to Government Code Section 3547, the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District hereby sunshines and submits the following 2025-28 initial proposals to the Belmont-Redwood Shores Faculty Association. The district proposes to negotiate the following articles. Article 7 leaves, Article 10 hours, Article 13 salaries, Article 14 benefits, and Article 19 duration.
Either. Yeah. Fixes.
Got it.
We try to keep it short and sweet for BRSFA. I'm Travis Whitebread. I'm an 8th grade teacher at Nesbitt. I'm at the bargaining chair this year. Excited we have a few new members on the bargaining team. They're excited to be working together with Julie and everybody else, making sure that this happens. We have a few more articles than BRSSD, but that is because this is one of those rare instances where the entire contract is open. Normally, we are only bringing a few different articles to be sunshined. In this case, all articles can be opened. So while yes, if you count all of those, it is 13 articles that we are hoping to open. Some of those are just cleaning up little things. I've been giving a document in my time as a member of the bargaining team, little things that need to be changed. An example would be class size, for example, where there's lots of sort of language in there that now that we can go in there and clean it up, that will help make the contract easier for everybody to be able to read. So we have the following. So the automatic reopeners, which are 14 and 15, salary and benefits. And then Article 16, which is work calendar, also the duration. We also have Article 4, organizational rights and release time. Article 5, evaluations, Article 7, leaves of absences, Article 8, retirement, Article 9, personnel complaint procedures, Article 10, hours, Article 11, class size, Article 12, special education, Article 13, grievance procedure, and Article 17, safety. As I said, why, yes, it is a laundry list of articles. Some of those are just touching on one small sub-article within there, not looking to go crazy into all of those. I know Jackie was very concerned, so I just.
We're good.
But again, looking forward to working with the RSST on how we can make our CBA much better for the district, teachers, everybody all together.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And so, yeah.
I'll just add, real quick, trustees Koss, Bruno and Northrop. You guys received invitations to an interest-based bargaining session that we're joint training that we're doing with BRSFA to brush up on stuff. Tuesday, January 28th, if I recall, you received that information. Our new trustees also received that invitation as well.
Thank you.
So commitment to continue the good work that we've had at the table over the years.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent DeGuara, and thank you, Mr. Whitebread and Ms. Eastburn. Thank you. Item number 14, first interim fiscal solvency report. We will hear from Reese Matsumoto, our CBO. Great. And this is an action item.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Reese. I'm the Chief Business Officer at Belmont-Redwood Shore School District. And I'm here today to give the first interim fiscal solvency report. Great. So just getting everything started here to reorient ourselves around what the first interim report is. Really, it is an opportunity for us to take a look at our current expenditures thus far, try and recalibrate a little bit and make sure that we are either hitting our goals or understand basically why either the revenue or expenditure lines are moving. This is part one of 2 interim reports during the year. The second interim report happens somewhere usually late February, early March, which is just another point for us to also reflect back on the expenditures thus far through the year and make any adjustments. So to give a summary about everything that's happening so far, currently we have spent roughly 24% of the budget through the end of October. Historically, we've spent roughly the same amount for the past historical 5 years of spending. What does that all mean? That basically means that we are on target to hit our budget through the end of the year. And by budget here, I mean the adjusted budget. So basically the budget between our initial adopted budget as of July 1st and right now has been adjusted by approximately $1.1 million. So that means that we are projecting to run a deficit of $4.8 million, whereas earlier in the year we're projected to run a $3.7 million deficit. So the rest of this presentation will explain why, but if I had to sum it up in a couple of points here. Number one, we're expecting a little bit less revenues because of supplemental tax dollars basically disappearing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. The second of which is we're actually moving some money from Fund 21 that was spent on the TK bathrooms into Fund 1 in order to fully spend down a grant that we received a couple of years ago. We received the revenue a couple of years ago as well, which is why in this year's books, it only looks as an expenditure and not a revenue, according revenue line as well. And then again, we are using the reserves that we have spent, that we have built up in order to keep our per pupil spending high. Thank you very much. And as such, that is our multi-year spending plan. Again, we have built up some reserves during the pandemic, and we are dipping into those reserves strategically in order to keep our per pupil spending high through the next couple of years. As we move into next year for 25-26, we will soon begin the budgeting process with the goal of being able to hire for positions as soon as possible so that we are ahead of the market. And we should continue to be basic aid for the foreseeable future. So getting into the revenue side, basically there is only 2 sources of revenue that have changed. First is the LCFF or basic aid sources. And as I said earlier, this has to do with the supplemental taxes lapsing out. So I will cover that on the next slide. And the second one is other state revenue. So we've actually received a few, or about $1 million more in SPED revenues. And that's just reflective of our SPED enrollment over time. So speaking more about our supplemental taxes. So if you think about our basic aid base, right, that is funded solely on our property tax assessed values. Now, when you are LCFF funded, which we were a couple of years ago, you not only get what the state gives you in terms of LCFF funding, but you also receive an additional supplemental tax amount, which is also based off a small percentage of your assessed tax valuation. Now, the supplemental tax is given to you on a lagging basis. So for example, in 21-22, we were receiving supplemental tax dollars that were assessed in 1920. So what does that mean when you switch over to basic aid? When you first switch over to basic aid full-time, you maintain the supplemental tax dollars because it's doled out on a lagging basis. And all that has meant for us is that even though it's been 2 years since we switched to basic aid, we've still received that money for the last 2 years. However, that's going away since the last year that we were LCFF funded was 21-22. So basically between P2 of last year and P1 of this year, we're receiving the very last of the assessed tax value or the assessed tax values from 21-22. And what does that mean for our revenue? It means that overall our revenue is going to continue going up over time, but we will see a small dip in this year in our revenues. So as you can see from the chart in back of me over here, the revenues overall are increasing if you look at our LCFF versus basic aid tax base, and that is the gray versus dark blue lines here. But when you take out that supplemental tax, when you get to 24-25, it leads to a small dip in revenues. So that's basically what we were seeing for this year. As we look at our expenditures, really there's two main things to look at here. Our salaries are basically our certificated salaries have gone up a little, but our classified salaries have gone down, and that's just reflective of our current staffing. Basically, that ends up at a net zero. The real two things to keep track of here are one, the 0.6 million increase in services and other operating expenses, and that has to deal with some of the costs from the TK bathrooms this summer that we've moved into Fund 1. And secondly is books and supplies. So we have a grant for lottery instructional materials, resource code 6,300 for anyone wondering. And basically those need to be spent specifically on instructional materials, and we have a specific timeline for it. So we are currently increasing some of the expenditures to make sure that we are spending down some of those lines, but we're also investigating a little bit since it seems like some of that may actually just have to deal with overall expenditures that were planned for this year that just ended up being in a different line. So realistically, you would think that while this line has gone up a little, so with the corresponding line that should go down as well. One of the slides that we like to do is basically taking a look at our expenditures throughout this year and comparing them to historical. And that's because I can sit here and talk to you about how much money we've gone up or gone down, but mostly it's helpful to take a look in the historical lens of things. And all in all, basically, we are in line with what we've done historically. And that is to say, we're not going to go off the rails either in either direction and run a crazy surplus or a crazy deficit, right? We're currently on track with what we've done historically. And based on that, we believe we'll run a $4.8 million deficit. So thinking about long-term, again, as we mentioned earlier, the whole point of this all is to keep our per pupil spending high. So as you can see on this chart in back of me, we've built up reserves over time in the past couple of years so that we can deficit spend in the short term in order to keep that per pupil spending high. Now, we may vary in terms of the amount of deficit from year to year, and all that does is it changes the runway. Let's just say we run smaller deficits than we planned or than we thought we would. It just means that we have a longer runway to kind of even things out, right? The larger deficit that we run, it means just a slightly shorter runway. However, currently, we think that we probably are within somewhere along 6 to 8 years currently of deficit spending, but we will continue updating the board with any projections as that may change. In terms of next steps, this is the interim update number 1 for the year. We will continue adjusting the budget, and then again, towards March or late February, we'll present the second interim report. Alongside of that, we are starting to think about the budget for next year. And we will be meeting with all the appropriate teams and principals to start preparing them and orienting themselves for that. With that, I conclude my time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Matsumoto. Thank you. To trustees, any questions? Trustee Cost?
So thank you. I appreciate it. Reese. You said, so it looks like, can you go back to that deficit trend line? So we are in 24, 25. Okay, so last year, according to, was the first deficit spending year in a few years? Is that, am I interpreting that right?
I believe now that I think about it, I believe we actually ran a slight surplus, actually, if I'm thinking correctly. Lieutenant DeWara?
I think we've had a deficit. We've been running a slight deficit that's been planned.
I see.
So I guess my question is it's good to know that you're envisioning 6 to 8 years, and I'm glad we've built up a reserve over time to help us weather this. But my question, I guess, is in addition to like the short-term pulls, for create the deficit spending, is there obviously we're driven by a larger part of our budget is is salaries, right? Salaries and benefits. Is there anything else that as you're looking at this trend that you're seeing, oh, that's interesting, we need to really kind of take a look at that going forward?
I don't think right now there is any area that is particularly concerning, right? As you think about our revenues are currently increasing, right? And projected to keep increasing because they're based off of the assessed values in the area, assessed tax values in the area. As our enrollment, we are currently projecting, slight increases due to our demographer projections, right? With that, even if you kept our expenditures roughly flat, right, that would still mean our per pupil spending is kind of increasing over time, even though our expenditures aren't actually, moving up in terms of an absolute value. So I'm not too concerned about any specific thing. And, I kind of expect that the deficit will naturally close over time.
Okay. And the other question I had is obviously out of your control. It has to do with the state legislation, but like when you're saying that sped revenue, right, is tied to enrollment of our population. If the trends kind of increase and we have more enrollment, more students involved in this population group, obviously then if the state doesn't kind of come through with that revenue, then that's going to ultimately, the state is guaranteeing something that doesn't come through, right? That's always something to be looked at and having to factor at that moment.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, that absolutely makes sense. I would say, a large majority of our revenue comes from property taxes, right? So we are very fortunate in that even if, no matter what happens to the state, for example, most of the state is running under the 0.78% COLA for this year, right?
Okay.
We are extremely fortunate to not really have to think about that. Our revenue really is driven mostly by our property taxes. So even should that happen and there be a large change in how some of the other funds and state funded grants are doled out, or how they're thinking about the reimbursement rates, we should be able to weather that storm just fine.
Great, thank you.
Of course.
Trustee Howard?
So see a pattern -2, -4, -6, and then an evening out around 26, 27. If you haven't done the budget work for 25, 26, how do we get to a -6 estimate for that year? And how do we get to the -6 estimate for the following year?
Sure. So again, right, we're thinking about things right now in terms of per pupil spending, right? So even though we don't actually have the full budget for next year, right, our projections are that what relatively makes sense in the scheme of things to continue increasing our per pupil spending as our enrollment starts to either level out or slightly decrease, right? And our revenues start to move up. Keegan, who is our bond advisor, has advised us that our property taxes grow at roughly 3-ish%. So using those projections, as well as kind of keeping most of the staffing models the same, that is yielding what you're seeing in back of you right now.
And what's your threshold for your reserve? I know that we have board minimums that we require, but then that's also not necessarily what we're aiming for is board minimums. So what's our threshold to start pulling back?
So all of this is to say, I believe the state mandated board minimums are 6% or 6% now.
State.
Or state.
Three, our district is 6.
District's reserve amount is 6. And all of this is taking into account keeping that 6% in place at the very least, right? So that runway basically takes into account using reserves up to that 6% mark.
And Reese, our current reserve right now is, do you have a percentage?
Percentage?
Yeah.
I believe it's roughly 45-ish% of our expenditures. Or reserves without the 6%, I believe is roughly like 39-40%.
I think our budget's 152.
Currently, the budgeted expenditures are 57, I believe.
57.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I see if there are any other questions? Trustee Linebaugh or trustee Bruno?
Might have covered.
Trustee Howard asked my question.
Okay.
Nailed it on that.
Yeah, I have no questions. Just thank you very much. Reese, a lot of work put into this, so we really appreciate it. Thank you for showing us the projections for the next few years. And yeah, I think yeah, thank you for everything you've been doing.
I do want to just say a word commending Reese. He's been part-time since October and really jumping in to understand our budget and understand our historicals as well as mapping us forward. I will say one of the first conversations he brought to me, I want to say it was day 2. He said, Dan, I'm looking at our deficit and I'm thinking about how we start coming out of our deficit over time. That's going to be something important to me that I understand and that we are moving forward with ways that bring us out so that it's easy over time rather than hard all at once, right? So that's something that we're definitely cognizant of.
Thank you. And then this is an action item. So the recommendation is that the board approve the first interim as presented. Can I get a motion to approve the first interim?
So moved.
Can I get a second? Seconded by trustee Bruno. Sorry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Passes unanimously. Thank you. And then item number 15 is the district office architectural services request for proposal. And for this, we're going to hear from Reese Matsumoto, our CBO, and this is also an action item.
Great. Good evening again. As we mentioned in the last board meeting, we went out for an RFP for an architect for ADA upgrades to the district office. We received 8 bids in total. From these 8 bids, we assessed each of them based on criteria, for example, around aesthetics, their past experience doing similar projects, price, for example, and other criteria. Based on that, we took the top 4 scoring vendors and proceeded to do screening calls with each of the 4 of them. Based on the criteria scoring and the calls that we did with the top 4 vendors, it's recommended that we move forward with DTA, Dryling Tyrone's Architects.
Thank you. Any questions from the board members?
Just a comment that I'm glad that this is going forward and the district office is getting the needed repairs to maintain ADA compliance.
Thank you.
My comment would, or it's really a question outside this, where is the district going to be doing its work when this work is done in the district office?
That is an excellent question.
We are, I don't think it's gonna be trustee Linebach's suggestion of fully remote. We are currently looking at options. I've reached out to the city, one, B, I've reached out to Notre Dame, two. Not sure that either one of them is gonna come up. One of the pieces and strengths within DTA, their support also helps us look for that piece. There's quite a few buildings available in the Shores area. The other option is seeing if there's space at, say, county office. I've not looked at that yet, but those are the things that are percolating in our minds.
And when's the time frame for making a decision or in terms of where you're going to be, and then also when does this work start? Because this is not a space, for instance, that is dependent on summer vacancy so that the work can proceed.
Yeah, actually, it is interesting because over the summer we do get a lot of enrollment, and it is a busy place during the summer. Our aggressive option at this point in time, we would love to get started mid to late summer. That may be a bit aggressive in terms of the architectural drawings as well as moving forward with the general contractor. The other piece that we're up against in terms of timing is we have so much time to utilize the funds that we pulled back in the last issuance of the Measure I bond. So we are trying to navigate that timeline sensitively, but the hope is that we can move forward as early as this summer to begin the work.
Any further questions? Can I get a motion to move forward with DTA for architectural services as related to the district office ADA upgrades project?
So moved.
You're on a roll. You got it this whole time.
Thank you, trustee Limbach. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you, trustee Cos. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Right. Thank you. We are now moving on to item number 16, and apparently the best present of all is that this may be your shortest meeting ever. So
My speech, yeah.
So we're on item 16, board recognition. Superintendent DeGuara and I would like to recognize Dr. Jim Howard and Samuel Linebach for completing their board service in the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District.
I think we may have public comment.
So we have Mariah here
Perfect.
from Assembly and Diane.
But Mariah,
Sure, great.
Mariah, come on
I'm
up.
gonna start it off.
Awesome.
I'm Mariah with Assemblymember Diane Pappin's office. I'm wearing 2 hats tonight. I am here on behalf of Diane Pappin and Senator Josh Becker to present these lovely frame thingamabobbies. They're called resolutions. So thank you for Sam and Jim. So just wanted to start off, I think, who am I holding? Sam. Perfect. That's who I wanted to start off with. So Sam, you have worn many hats as well too during your time here. Thank you so much for not only your experience and what you brought to the board these past, or how long have you been with the board?
7 years, I think.
5.5.
5.5.
See, he's done so much.
Yes.
He doesn't remember when he did when, so.
Yes, it does.
You've done a lot of work for the school board, for the schools, for our kids and for our community, and thank you so much for that. I've also read that you're a hiker, and I'm hoping that you have more time to go do that now. So thank you so much for your service. And then, because I'm gonna try to combine these as well too, so.
So nice.
For Jim, thank you so much as well for your amazing service. You've been here, I want to say a little bit longer.
5.5.
5.5? Okay.
On the same day.
He's on it with the numbers. And then daytime, you're a doctor helping our children in need. So thank you so much for all of that service too. Must be difficult I saw that your wife has to put up with your shenanigans as well too. So more shenanigans, I'm hoping, now that you have more time to do that and more time with your daughters as well too. So Sam and Jim, now therefore be it resolved by Senator Josh Becker and Assemblymember Diane Pappin that Dr. James Howard and Samuel Leinbach be commended for their exemplary record of leadership as a member of the Belmont-Redwood Shores School District Board of Trustees and extended sincere best wishes for continued success in their future endeavors. Thank you so much. And you get to take these home with you. Hope you have lots of wall space. They're big.
Thank you very much.
As
That looks great.
I know they're nice and shiny and new. They came from Sacramento.
Thank you, Mariah. I'll go ahead.
Sure.
All right. So I did prepare a few words. Really, the mark of a good leader is always leaving the place better than when you got there. And I can honestly say that both Trustee Howard and Trustee Leinbach are leaving BRSSD in a better place than when you got here, and you really just did that. It's been a privilege working with both of you since I've been hired here in BRSSD, helping lay that groundwork. Over your tenure on our board, you've helped us always pick the path that leads to success and the best outcome possible as an organization and is also for our kiddos. I just want to highlight a couple of them, right? So you led us during the COVID pandemic, right? That, like Sam, like you said, that counts for multiple years. Your leadership, the board's leadership during that time was so important in ensuring that we met the needs of our community, that we reopened our schools during that pandemic. And we did so when it was right for our community. And you guys really were steadfast in sticking to the science and listening to what's out there and not being swayed one direction or another, right? I always share the third week of being superintendent, we had 2 change.org petitions, both supported. A ton of people closed the school, a ton of people opened the school, right? It really wasn't a win. There was no winning. And I will just say you guys remained steadfast and led us through that really challenging time. Just after that, we wanted to make sure that we were looking at the longevity for our district. We put a parcel tax on the ballot. We passed it with 75%. That was a testament to the work that the board was doing, as well as that outreach that both of you guys were involved in our community to get that passed, to ensure that the people and programs for our kids continue to remain in place for many years to come, right? That loan is lasting well past your tenure on the board. We did a lot of work around strategic plan. You were both instrumental in that work as part of the committee, guiding that framework, making sure that our pathway forward was solid. We took advantage of investing in solar, right? Environmentally friendly while protecting our budget. Lots of good work happened there. You committed to developing well-rounded students who are able to think, innovate, and advocate. our kids are our future, right? So we invested in them. We've worked hard, as you've seen tonight, to build relationships with our bargaining units. That comes from a high functioning board. When I joined BRSSD, they handed a paper, we handed a paper. Very different right now, right? Where we sit at the table and we actually talk. So lots of great work happened there. And then most recently, we passed a bond measure, again, making sure that our facilities remain top notch. 67% approval on that was the official. That ensures that our facilities remain top notch. Your work and your leadership definitely have made a positive impact on our schools in our communities. And we thank you for that service. And I'll just say those were the big things, right? You guys tackled the little things, you tackled the sinkholes, the other things that just magically popped up. And we did so with grace. On a personal note, Jim, your sense of humor, I don't think there was a single board meeting where there wasn't some shenanigan, and you always kept it light. Your thoughtfulness, your approach, you were always willing to engage, and you were always willing to find solutions. So I thank you for that. Sam, I'll miss your attention to detail, specifically around board policies. A little funny, I think. We have a Thursday board meeting, and I can almost guarantee a Wednesday email with a question. Your connection with SMCSBA made sure that our board was connected to the larger picture, and I appreciate your energy and enthusiasm towards innovation. So thank you both for your service. While you may be stepping off the board, we're still going to call on you to continue to work with us and be our partner and advocate. And I just thank you from the bottom of my heart. So we have a little something special. It's a plaque if you want to hang it on the wall, or if you want to turn it over and use it as a charcuterie board, you can do that. It's multi-purpose. So with that, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to recognize trustees Howard and Lineback as well. Trustee Koss and trustee Bruno, would you like to say anything? You don't need to, but would you like to say any words in recognition? Or I can go first, whatever you would like.
to go first?
I'm happy to do that. Great. All right, great. So I will remember. So Dan, of course, covered so many things that you both have contributed. So in the interest of time, I will summarize over them. Right, both of you together, you guided the development of our new strategic plan and our new facilities master plan. Before that, you helped hire our superintendent and many members of the leadership team. And then individually, I wanted to thank you both. Sam, you've always listened thoughtfully to teachers, staff, and parents. You've encouraged us to always think about and plan for the future. And you've given exemplary service to the San Mateo County School Board Association as well. Thank you. And then for Jim, you've utilized your professional experience as a medical doctor to inform your time as a board member, most notably during the COVID pandemic, including shutdown, distance learning, hybrid learning, and the return to full in-person learning. You've also been very cognizant in asking how policies may impact our most underserved students. And again, thank you both for your service for 5.5 years and all of your time before that as active parent volunteers. And we wish you a well-deserved, rewarding, and fulfilling board retirement.
Said my bit earlier.
Sent an emoji, right?
I've crossed off a lot of these things. Thank you. I would just say that I really enjoyed both of you, the thoughtful insights and unique perspectives that you bring. One of the things that I've really relished is our board dialogue and how everybody brings a different unique perspective, you know, underlying to do right by each and every student, each and every child. But that we kind of come together and I've fed off of that and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting point of view. Let me look into that. And so I do appreciate Sam's rich, his kind of historical and knowledge of bylaws and procedures and just, you know, what it is to kind of extend to the outer community. And Jim, certainly, you're guided by also your exuberance, your energy and your humor too, but also you're pinpointed, like, what do you need from us? That's kind of the statement I will take away from your interaction. How can we help? You're always there in a service orientation, and both of you are very empathetic and show lots of empathy. On a personal note, I would just say I do appreciate the mentorship coming in and how you I each knew where to turn when I had a question. Certainly always the partnership and the friendship. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And then trustee Limbach and trustee Howard, would you like to say a few words?
I'll go first. Okay. Thank you for all the kind sentiments and mentions. I went through and I actually counted, and there's actually 91 meetings that we've gone through, Jim and I together, since we started out. So it's been a long time. I actually went back at the BRSSD website, and you can see all the board members, and the picture I was there was taken when I first joined the board, and I think my age is starting to show. So it's been a little while. But yeah, Superintendent Gar, you did a great job capturing all those accomplishments and all the things that we as a board and governance team have accomplished. It's not just one person alone, and I'm very happy to be part of that. And as you said, it all started with hiring a phenomenal superintendent and going all the way through. So it's been a great journey. One of all these accomplishments are really fantastic, but some of the highlights that I've had as a board member is going out to the school play and seeing them do something. We're going to a graduation ceremony and seeing all the families and kids up and getting their diploma. And I was fortunate enough to be at Ralston and shaking hands and a couple other schools at Sandpiper and just seeing the excitement of those kids at Central as well. That's the highlight, is seeing things in action, or even going just to the faculty picnic or things like that. You know, seeing the community we have, whether it's just the kids, the staff, families, and seeing that we have such a wonderful district is just wonderful. It's truly been an honor to serve this community, making sure that we have the direction we're going to work towards the best student achievement possible for each and every student in this district. Thank you for all your support and throughout this time. My time's up.
Thank you.
Geez, I don't even know how you follow that. So, I would say that, one of the things that, occurred to me is that we started in a very funny place. As soon as, we were both appointed, and that was after a couple of board members stepped down, and, our appointment started and we were sworn in seconds later, and then we were off to the races and finding out that we had a lot of work to do. That wasn't clear to coming into the appointment. And we thought a lot of work to do was to hire new leadership, and not just one person, but 3 people that were essential to the leadership of the district. And then COVID. And so, that was a whole thing. But throughout, the crisis mode of managing in COVID and trying to lead in COVID, which, it was really crisis mode. We were on the phone constantly with one another, probably multiple times a week, if not multiple times a day, about different things that were happening in the district and that we were having to pivot and adjust to. But getting through that, we really started to be able to focus then on strategic thinking and where are we going with this place and how can we make it better? And we started to ask things like, what are we trying to achieve here? The strategic plan came out of that. The next thing was, what kind of students do we want to develop? And so now we have a profile of a student, and that's still evolving, but it's, you know, vision and where are we going? And not worrying about being an expert in education, but an expert in judgment, I think an expert in culture, an expert in looking out for the little guy, an expert in how do we build a thing that's going to be long lasting and not worry about the little day-to-day things, because those little day-to-day things, we've already hired great people to do them. And I think that's the other thing I'm really proud of, is that when you look back at every single one of the principals, every single one of the APs, every single one of the leadership cabinet members within the district office, those are all people that have either been developed by us with some adjustments in style, or and not you know, don't do this, but you could perhaps do this a different way and perhaps be more effective. Though all that's been done over our time here, a complete turnover of principals. And that was hard because a lot of those people were our good friends, and we had strong relationships with them. And it was also good because change can be good because it allows us to then take on new principles and ideals and execute them with enthusiasm. I do feel a lot of gratitude towards my fellow board members, both past and present. I enjoyed the discussions and debate, and I feel like as a group we've developed the general mindset that we're trying to come to the best solution that we possibly can, despite not necessarily always aligning 100% on where we're coming from. But I think we then talk it through to get to the best solution we have with the resources that we have. So thanks. Thank you to my wife for putting up with all the time. Thank you to my daughter for being so stinky and enjoying and employing my sense of humor and being my little protege when it comes to causing trouble. And being so embarrassed that I'm talking about it right now. But yeah, and thanks, Dan, April, Jackie, Sam, and you know, everyone here. And thank you guys too. I really, we've been privileged to have just getting to know you, but don't take this as a slight, but we had one of the best CBOs I've ever seen. And you got a lot of big shoes to fill, so hopefully that continues to grow. I assume that hire will work out well. And Kirsten, you did a lot for us, a lot. And I really appreciate your steadiness and just always being there, making sure that things got handled the right way. So thank you all. Thank you for our educators. Thank you for our cabinet members. Thank you to our principals. Thank you to our bargaining units that have really wanted to make this district as good a place it could possibly be, and have come together to develop that vision of where are we going together, not where are we going separately.
Thank you. Thank you. Round of applause for Trustee Howard.
One more recognition. As this is our last regular board meeting of the school year, we have a special board meeting on Monday. That'll be the board reorganization, but this is officially April's last meeting as board president. I just want to extend my gratitude for your leadership as president. I don't know if most people don't know what goes into that. A few of us do. But that entails reviewing and setting the agenda, making sure everything that needs to be there is there, that we are appropriately prepared. That adds a couple of meetings to your monthly calendars. So, and I will say throughout that time, I appreciate April always juggling schedules, and even if it was during your prep time, we were committed to continuing to meet to make sure we and that our meetings ran effectively and smooth, and that we made little tweaks to make our day-to-day work even easier. So with that, I just want to extend our thanks. I won't take it out, but it is a commemorative trophy.
Very nice.
Recognition of your service. So thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent DeGuara. Thank you.
Probably
Oh,
should have
no
taken
worries,
it.
no worries, no
Sorry.
worries, no worries, no worries. Oh, my goodness, very nice. Thank you very much. I was planning my farewell address for Monday, but that's a history joke because George Washington famously had a farewell address. So now I realize that joke went, would have told me a couple of people.
History teacher.
Nice.
But it has been a pleasure serving as your president. Thank you very much to my fellow board members and Superintendent DeGuara. I think we've been able to come together a lot and accomplish a lot of things. And I'll miss trustees Howard and Leinbach extremely and appreciate all of your guidance. And again, thanks as trustee Howard said, thanks of course to our district staff, cabinet, bargaining units, teachers, educators, principals, parents and students. Thank you for everything you do. And it's our honor to be able to serve you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, item number 17, future board meeting agenda items.
December 16th, as I mentioned, is the annual board reorganization. That will be at 5 p.m. January 16th is the first one of 2025. We'll have Ralston joining us. We'll be doing an LCAP mid-year report. We'll pick an element of our strategic plan to highlight. We will officially certify Measure P results. Certifying puts into play our timeline for ensuring that we have an oversight committee in place. So that will take place in January. And then we'll have the beloved CSBA board updates. A little extra work for our 3 trustees because Sam's not going to be with us. So, and then I should say that is assuming that our board calendar gets approved on Monday. It'll be the 16th, and then we'll have January 23rd as our board retreat, which will be talking about how we utilize bond funds and how we take our first steps into upgrading and renewing our facilities. So.
Great. Thank you, Superintendent DeGuara. Any other thoughts on future board meeting agenda items? We do not need to reconvene to closed session. Can I get a motion to adjourn, and possibly our outgoing board members may like to do the motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
I will second that.
Thank you, trustee Howard. Thank you, trustee Leinbach. All in favor, please say aye.
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 No, I don't want to stay. Oh.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 7:29 p.m.